We begin here on CBS2 with breaking news at 5. The 405 has been shut down in both directions.
Stu Mundell is live in Sky 2 over Westchester. Stu, this is a mess.
What a mess. And take a look at this. This is some of the northbound lanes. They're calling it police activity at Century Boulevard. So it's actually on the Century Boulevard overpasses where all the issues are happening. They shut down the 405 both directions right there at that intersection. And what a backup. Take a look at this. Southbound lanes, you're pretty much on the brakes or if not stopped from the 10 freeway. It is completely stopped out here. Some emergency vehicles using the open lanes right now to get to that location. Right now, though, there is no time frame on when this may come to an end. Folks are basically turning around using on-ramps as off-ramps. We've been watching that happening out here. Other folks sitting there getting out of their cars just kind of wondering what's going on. Police activity, that's what they're saying. 405 freeway shut down both directions at Century Boulevard in the Westchester area. Now, this might affect you if you want to be taking a plane today out of LAX, because it is a huge backup out here. And of course, the northbound lanes, the stoppage is well past 105. Live in Sky 2 over Westchester. Stu Mundell, back to you two in the studio.
Goodness, what a sight, Stu. Thank you. Developing news, a danger averted at a softball field. Police make a disturbing discovery. An angry man with enough firepower for a mass shooting. Police were tipped off to the hidden trove of weapons after the man confronted a girls' softball coach.
CBS 2's Orange County reporter Michelle Gili is live for us in Santa Ana with more on the arrest and, of course, the concerns in the community. Michelle.
And last night was training night for Santa Ana softball when the girls and their coach opened the door here behind me to their shed where their equipment is stored. They got quite a shock. This cache of ammunition, at least 550 rounds worth, along with a gun, was found with a convicted felon, according to Santa Ana police, inside of a girls' softball league storage shed. The frightening discovery was made Monday night at Thornton Park. Marina Sorensen saw the man, but had no idea what he was hiding.
Oh, it's just unbelievable. Yeah, they shouldn't be around the children. I care about the children and all the families. This is a safe neighborhood. This is usually normally, you know, like I said, my sister's lived here for a lot of years. And I wouldn't want to think that my niece and nephew were not safe.
Police say 37-year-old Ruben Perez confronted the Santa Ana Softball League coach Tuesday night as the team showed up to retrieve their gear from the shed for practice. They had no idea when they opened the door that Perez had broken in and had been living there.
He became verbally combative with them, told him he had found it, that was his house. So they informed him they were going to call the police. He became aggressive towards them, called them snitches, and that he was going to get his gun, his strap, and kill them.
Once inside, officers also found what's known in the military as a load-bearing vest with multiple pockets filled with clips of ammunition. Authorities say it was all stolen by the suspect.
We could have had an active shooter scenario on a softball field. There's a lot of different things he could have done with that much ammo and with the equipment he had.
And that's exactly what police are still trying to figure out. Who does the gun belong to? Who does the ammunition belong to? And why was this guy stockpiling the gun and all of this ammo? That's the latest live in Santa Ana. I'm Michelle Gili. Back to you.
Incredible. Michelle, thank you. We have more breaking news. A terror attack in France. Ambulances whisking the wounded away as police fired at a suspect accused of shooting at least 15 people near a popular Christmas market. That attack left at least 4 people dead and 11 others injured in Strasbourg.
CBS 2's Juan Fernandez is live in the newsroom with details on the terror investigation. Juan?
Well, Sharon, Jeff, there are reports tonight the terror suspect is pinned down and wounded. He might have been injured in a shootout with a soldier. Witnesses reported hearing gunshots as police fired at an apartment building. Tonight, neighborhoods are locked down, and so is the European Parliament, which is based in Strasbourg. The suspected gunman is reportedly a 29-year-old man who was on a watch list of suspected extremists. French police say they went to his home before the attack to arrest him, but he wasn't there. The attack could have been worse, though. Police found explosive materials inside his home. Christmas market has been the target of threats in the past. Witnesses described first hearing 1 or 2 shots, then a burst of gunfire as people ran for their lives. A shopkeeper said the shots lasted about 10 minutes or so. Restaurants and shops locked their doors as people hid. One witness told the BBC he tried to resuscitate a man who later died. Now, this particular Christmas market in Strasbourg was targeted by Al-Qaeda in a failed bomb attempt in 2000. We're going to have much more on the attack tonight on CBS2 News at 11. Jeff Sharon, I'll send it back to you.
Walgreens, the blood of Jonathan Hart is on your hands.
The family of the man shot to death inside a Hollywood Walgreens last week is now suing for more than $500 million. An armed security guard killed Jonathan Hart, claimed he was shoplifting, but the family's attorney says Hart was targeted. CBS 2's Dave Lopez is live in Ladera Heights, where that multi-million-dollar lawsuit was announced. Dave?
Well, it's quite an emotional news conference today by the attorney Carl Douglas. I'm standing right outside his law office, and he makes no doubt about it. He said this should have never happened, and that's why he's asking for such a large amount of money. He's also demanding that District Attorney Jackie Lacey charge the man who has not been publicly named, and he has not been arrested or charged yet. He says that a crime was committed, and all we're getting from the DA's office when we ask what the status is that it's under investigation. But here's Mr. Douglas today.
John was not shoplifting when he was shot.
John is Jonathan Hart, also known as Sky to many of his friends. And the attorney representing his family, Carl Douglas, says that because Hart was shot while unarmed inside a Walgreens in Hollywood, he's demanding for his family $525 million in damages.
Is he gonna be all right?
Cell phone video taken moments after the shooting. The armed security guard who shot him said that Hart was shoplifting and that Hart had shoved him. Douglas said Hart and the guard shoved each other once. Hart started to run. The guard yelled, "Freeze," as he pointed his gun, and Hart continued running towards the door.
The guard fires one shot, striking the man in the back of the neck.
Douglas said the autopsy he's seen proves that. As Douglas was talking, behind him, Hart's twin sister broke down in tears.
This is a case of a civil rights violation, and we are calling for a boycott of Walgreens.
Douglas was highly critical of Walgreens' policy that he alleges places armed security guards only in neighborhoods frequented by minorities and the homeless.
I dare say where the mothers of the Walgreens executive shop, I'll bet there's no armed guards there.
Walgreens confirmed that the security company employed at the Sunset and Vine store and the security guard who did the shooting have been fired. No other comment.
This is his family,
who surrounded Douglas and chose not to answer any questions. And Douglas made it clear that Hart had a loving family and he was homeless by choice, trying to find himself, is how he put it.
I gave this family a pledge that Jonathan Hart will not have died in vain.
Again, late this afternoon, Walgreens issued another statement saying that they are cooperating fully, would make no other comments whatsoever. As for the reason for so much money, the attorney said, because we have to get their attention. Reporting live from Ladera Heights, I'm Dave Lopez, CBS 2 News.
All right, Dave, thank you. An LA County Sheriff's deputy is now charged with the deadly shooting of an unarmed driver in Norwalk 2 years ago. Deputy Luke Liu pleaded not guilty to voluntary manslaughter in the 2016 shooting of a man at a Norwalk gas station. The shooting took place at a 7-Eleven gas station in Norwalk. Deputies say Liu was on patrol. He saw what he thought was a stolen car. He confronted the driver, who began to drive away. Witnesses say Liu then pulled his gun, ran alongside the car, and fired several shots, killing Francisco Garcia. Part of the incident was caught on video. Liu's bail was set at $1.1 million. The Sheriff's Department issued a statement today saying it has faith in the justice system and will let this case play out in court.
If we don't have border security, we'll shut down the government. I am proud to shut down the government for border security.
Couldn't shut down the government over a dispute.
There are no votes in the House, a majority of votes, for a wall.
What an extraordinary scene in the Oval Office today. The president and Democratic leaders of the House and Senate squared off.
This meeting was supposed to be about the budget, but it quickly became about the border wall.
And Dave Bryan is with us here. Now, Dave, this is the kind of thing that happens behind closed doors all the time.
All the time,
but
right.
with cameras there, I can't remember seeing that.
Never seen it. I've never seen it. Nothing even close to this.
Yeah.
Like you say, they're arguing all day and all night, but that's behind closed doors. This was supposed to be a closed-door meeting where President Trump and the Democratic leaders could do some wheeling and dealing on important issues like funding the government and sealing the borders from illegal immigrants. But the White House called in the media, and the president and the Democrats put on quite a show for them. It was the kind of bitter disagreement usually reserved for back rooms with all doors closed and no cameras allowed. But today it was carried out in full view of the cameras as President Trump and Democratic leaders Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer conducted a no-holds-barred freewheeling argument about funding for the border wall and shutting down the government.
One thing I think we can agree on is we shouldn't shut down the government over a dispute. And you want to shut it down. You keep talking about it.
The last time, Chuck, you shut it down.
No.
And then you opened it up very quickly. And
20 times.
I don't want to do what you did.
20 times you have called for, I will shut down the government if I don't get my wool. None of us have said.
You want to know something?
You've said it.
Okay, you want to put that on my...
You've said it.
I'll take it.
Okay, good.
You know what I'll say? Yes. If we don't get what we want, one way or the other, whether it's through you, through a military, through anything you want to call, I will shut down the government.
Okay,
absolutely.
fair enough.
And I am proud.
It was the first meeting between the three leaders in over a year, and it was supposed to be closed to the press. But over the objections of the Democrats, President Trump allowed the cameras to record the drama, and there was plenty of it. Trump and the Democratic leader in the House, Nancy Pelosi, tangled too when the president implied that she was talking tough because she wants to nail down the Democratic votes to become House Speaker.
I also know that, you know, Nancy's in a situation where it's not easy for her to talk right now, but we have to have border security.
Mr. President, please don't characterize the strength that I bring to this meeting as the leader of the House Democrats who just won a big victory.
And we've gained in the Senate. Nancy, we've gained in the Senate. Excuse me, did we win the Senate? We won the Senate.
After the heated meeting, the insults apparently continued. Pelosi briefed House Democrats in a closed-door meeting where she's reported to have said about President Trump's behavior, "It's like a manhood thing for him," as if manhood could ever be associated with him. Now, in the meantime, though, real people can be affected by this. The most immediate issue here is funding the government because the deadline is coming up quickly, and without at least a temporary agreement on funding between the president and Congress, some Americans could start to feel the impact of a shutdown very quickly. And remember, the holiday season is now upon us. Guys, back to you.
All right, thanks, Dave. There will be much more on this extraordinary scene in the Oval Office ahead on the CBS Evening News with Jeff Glor at 6:30.
Now we move on to developing news, a new threat on the CSUN campus.
Next here at 5, scared students talk to CBS2 after the second school scare there in days.
City of Los Angeles votes to increase speed limits, but the only thing it may really increase is ticket writing.
And we are going to tell you why Meghan Markle's manicure is ruffling royal feathers.
Hey everybody, I'm Garth Kemp. Wow, beautiful shot behind me. Great forecast coming up. It's on the way.
And the breaking news continues in Westchester. The 405 shut down in both directions. Stu Mundell will have the latest right after the break.